Picture this. It's 2011, and Natalie Portman is standing on the Oscar stage holding the Academy Award for Best Actress.
And the Oscar goes to Natalie Portman, Black Swan.
The world is celebrating her transformation into a ballerina. The training, the dancing, the pure physical commitment. Except backstage, a real ballerina named Sarah Lane is watching. And she's about to start a war that exposes one of Hollywood's biggest open secrets. Some of these stories will genuinely surprise you.
But in a controversy that now has moviegoers doing a double take, she is professional ballerina Sarah Lane.
And number one is going to make you question every emotional movie scene you've ever cried over. We're counting down 21 times Hollywood completely fooled us with celebrities' body doubles. Stick with me through all 21. Number 21. Let me set this up for you. Picture two of the biggest movie stars of the 90s, Julia Roberts and Nick Nolte. They get cast as rival reporters who fall in love in a 1994 romantic comedy called I Love Trouble. On paper, it should have been gold. Here's the problem though. They genuinely could not stand each other. The hatred between them was so deep that production had to film all their dialogue in completely separate sessions. Body doubles were brought in just for the eyeline shots. So every loving glance, every romantic spark you saw on screen was stitched together in the editing room. Reportedly, Nolte called Roberts not a nice person. She fired back, calling him completely disgusting. The director eventually banned them from sharing a set. The whole movie is basically two strangers pretending to be in love with someone who isn't even there. And the scary part? You probably never noticed. Number 20, this one happened on television and I still cannot get over it. The Good Wife wrapped its 6th season with this huge emotional goodbye scene between two estranged characters. Fans were sobbing, the internet was a mess. Just one tiny problem. Those two actresses, Juliana Margulies and Archie Panjabi, were never in the same room, not even once. The off-screen feud between them got so toxic that the show had to use body doubles and a stitched-together split screen to fake the entire goodbye. Here's where it gets messy. Margulies claimed in interviews that Panjabi was busy filming another show.
Ashley Judd was offered this script, but she's turning it down. Now.
So Panjabi went straight to Twitter and torched that excuse, saying she was sitting in New York, ready to film the whole time. Fans clocked the fake instantly. The eye lines didn't match, the shadows were wrong. One of TV's most emotional moments, held together with stand-ins and bad lighting. Number 19. Okay, this one absolutely broke the internet at the time. Miley Cyrus was peaking as Hannah Montana. Parents were paying premium ticket prices to take their kids to those arena shows. And toward the end of every Hannah Montana set, the lights would dim, the music would shift, and a body double in a blonde wig would quietly take Miley's place on stage for a minute or two. Her own representative eventually admitted what was happening.
Actually, every time she changes clothes, I'm the one backstage changing her clothes.
The swap was there so Hannah could rush backstage and transform into Miley for the second half of the concert. Some people in the back rows uploaded shaky videos to YouTube. The internet did the rest. Parents were furious. They paid Hannah Montana prices and got a stand-in shaking it on stage. The whole illusion fell apart in 5G, and honestly, the outrage was completely justified. Number 18.
It's definitely too late now to say sorry.
The audacity of this one is unreal. August 2025. A French Justin Bieber lookalike named Dylan Desclose walks into the XS nightclub at the Wynn in Las Vegas with a fake entourage. Somehow, he convinces every single person in there, including the headlining DJ Griffin, that he's the real Justin Bieber. He gets pulled up on stage. He performs 4 minutes and 27 seconds of Sorry. The crowd loses their minds. Then somebody finally clocks it. The Wynn released an actual statement calling it an elaborate, multi-step ruse. DJ Griffin posted on Instagram that he found out the worst news imaginable mid-set.
I literally thought, I was like, damn, he put on a lot of weight since the album dropped.
That was actually insane. Complete fake. No way. I swear on my life.
And the wildest part? Dylan and his crew reportedly racked up a $10,000 bottle service tab before security walked them out the door. A sold-out Vegas crowd was completely convinced they were watching Justin Bieber. They were watching a guy from Normandy. Number 17. This one is real, and it's adorable. During the 2011 production of Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides, lead actress Penélope Cruz was significantly pregnant with her first child. The role required intense sword fighting and full-body running scenes that would have been genuinely dangerous to film. So production solved the whole problem in the most genius way possible. They cast her younger sister, Monica Cruz, as her physical body double. The genetic match was so flawless that even crew members on set had a hard time telling them apart in full pirate gear. Penélope handled the close-up dialogue dialogue and the tight facial work. Monica handled all the intense action stuff. Matching wigs and identical costumes sealed the illusion. Hollywood didn't need $1 million in CGI for this one. They just looked at the leading lady's family tree. Number 16. This one is so unhinged it sounds made up, and yet every detail is real. Actress Sean Young got cast as Vicky Vale in the original 1989 Batman, then lost the role after a horse injury. So when she heard Catwoman was being cast for Batman Returns in 1991, she did the only thing a person in her position could possibly do.
She made herself up to look like Catwoman.
Well, I had cat-like makeup on, you know what I mean.
She made a homemade Catwoman costume, drove herself onto the Warner Brothers lot, and tried to ambush director Tim Burton in his own office to demand the role. Burton avoided her completely. Producer Mark Canton later said she literally leapt over his desk in full Catwoman gear, while Michael Keaton stood there watching the whole thing unfold. So Sean went on the Joan Rivers show in costume to publicly campaign for the part. The role went to Michelle Pfeiffer. Her career pretty much never recovered. Years later, she said honestly, she still thinks the whole thing was funny. If your jaw is already on the floor, hold tight. We are just getting warmed up. Number 15. The fact that this one is real still cracks me up. In the Twilight saga, Breaking Dawn, the vampires appear to run at impossible superhuman speeds through dense forest, while carrying fragile humans like nothing. Now you'd assume CGI, right? Or wires? Maybe a fancy camera rig? Nope, none of that. For the iconic piggyback forest run scenes, stunt doubles Paul Darnell and Helena Barrett were strapped onto a moving carpeted walkway, like a moving sidewalk you'd see in an airport. The crew literally dragged that thing through the actual woods at high speed while the doubles ran on top of it. I'm not joking. That smooth, gliding motion you saw on screen was just two stunt performers jogging on a forest treadmill being pulled through the trees by a bunch of grips. The most iconic supernatural moment of early 2000s cinema was a moving sidewalk in the woods. Number 14. This story has been whispered about for over 20 years. During the 2000 Charlie's Angels shoot, Bill Murray and Lucy Liu reportedly had a massive blow-up on set. According to a former production assistant who eventually went public with the story, Murray had been quietly rewriting parts of the script and sneaking the new pages into the cast's trailers without telling director McGee or producer Drew Barrymore. Things got heated, real heated. After the dust settled, the actors were reportedly kept apart for the rest of the shoot. Fast-paced action editing and tight framing covered up how rarely they were actually sharing scenes together. Murray himself later admitted they went to separate corners and exchanged some very harsh words. Liu took the high road, calling it a discussion. That breezy, fun vibe of the movie everyone loved, pieced together carefully in the edit. The chaos was completely invisible to audiences in 2000. Number 13. This one rewards anyone who actually paid attention to the show. In season 5 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, there's an episode called The Replacement where the character Xander gets magically split into two versions of himself, one suave, one goofy, both on screen at the exact same time, having full conversations together. In the year 2000, that show absolutely didn't have the budget for fancy digital duplication, so they used something better. Actor Nicholas Brendan, who played Xander, has a real-life identical twin brother named Kelly Donovan. Kelly stepped in as the physical body double for every over-the-shoulder shot. Nicholas himself performed nearly all the speaking lines for both Xanders. Kelly only opened his mouth when both characters had to talk simultaneously in the same frame. The fact that this trick worked so flawlessly, that isn't editing magic. That's literal DNA showing up on the call sheet. We are halfway through, and the top 11 are where this whole thing starts hitting on a completely different level. Trust me, you do not want to skip ahead. Number 12. This one is so unhinged it almost feels fake, and yet it absolutely is not. Remember Wesley Snipes, the Blade movies, where he plays the half-vampire vampire hunter? During the 2004 production of the third movie, Blade Trinity, the on-set tension between Snipes and director David Goyer reportedly exploded into a full confrontation. The hostility got so extreme that for one specific scene, where his character has to dramatically open his eyes after lying still on a morgue table, Snipes refused to open his physical eyes during the take. He just kept them shut, take after take. So the post-production team had to digitally animate CGI eyeballs onto his closed eyelids. I'm not making this up. Those animated eyes are sitting in the final cut of a real Hollywood movie. Comedian and co-star Patton Oswalt later went public describing the chaos on that set. Snipes denied the worst of it, but once you know about the eyes, you absolutely can't unsee it. Number 11. This one is wild even by Hollywood standards. By the 1996 production of The Island of Dr. Moreau, the legendary Marlon Brando had simply stopped memorizing his lines, like flat out refused to learn them. So the production Production rigged him with a hidden earpiece. His dialogue was fed straight into his ear in real time during every single take. According to crew accounts and the documentary Lost Soul, sometimes other transmissions would interfere. Reportedly, co-star Val Kilmer's lines from a nearby radio. When Brando improvised wildly off script, Kilmer would step in and impersonate him into a microphone for off-screen coverage. So audiences watching one of the greatest actors in Hollywood history were sometimes hearing his co-star finishing his impression. Brando had been pulling the earpiece trick all the way back to Superman in the 70s. He'd quietly turned into a human radio for decades. The world's greatest method actor was getting his lines whispered into his ear. Number 9. This one will completely change how you watch superhero movies. The first act of Captain America. The first Avenger required Chris Evans, who is a literal mountain of muscle, to play a frail 90-pound version of Steve Rogers before he gets the super soldier serum. The illusion was built using a brutal combination of techniques. First, the muscular Chris Evans performed every scene fully. Then a much thinner body double named Leander Dini mimicked his exact movements perfectly. Then VFX artists digitally shrunk Evans' body and grafted his face onto Dini's frame. Here's the wild part though. The shrinking was so dramatic that Evans' actual jawline looked too wide for the smaller body. So artists had to manually trim his jawline frame by painstaking frame to match the double's skeletal structure. The result looked completely seamless on screen. It took thousands of hours of digital surgery to land that illusion, and almost nobody noticed. Number 8. This one is iconic Hollywood deception. For 7 full seasons of the family sitcom Full House, the role of little Michelle Tanner was played by 2 actresses, not one. Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen, identical twins, alternated playing Michelle to comply with strict California child labor laws that limit how long a kid can be on set. Here's the genius part though. The credits listed the role under one made-up name, Mary-Kate Ashley Olsen, making millions of viewers think there was one little girl with the unusual middle name, Ashley. A whole generation grew up not realizing there were always 2 girls. The credit only changed in season 8 to list both twins separately. And in season 1, Mary-Kate got used more often because Ashley initially cried whenever she got placed on set. 2 kids, 1 paycheck, America's #1 sitcom, and nobody figured it out for years. Number 7. In the iconic 1991 Terminator 2, Judgment Day, director James Cameron needed a scene where the liquid metal villain T-1000 mimics Sarah Connor and appears alongside the real Sarah on screen at the same time. CGI in 1991 was nowhere near capable of pulling that off cleanly. So Cameron made the practical genius call. He cast Linda Hamilton's actual identical twin sister, Leslie Hamilton, to play the imposter clone. The famous mirror reversal scene during the chip removal moment used a fake mirror frame with one twin standing on each side. Beyond that one scene, Leslie also served as Linda's body double across the entire brutal physical shoot. Now get this, Leslie wasn't even an actress. She was an emergency room nurse who came in to help her sister out. She passed away in 2020 at 63. The greatest practical effect in T2 was just family. Number 6. This one genuinely hurts. In the final scene of Rogue One, a Star Wars story, a young Princess Leia turns to the camera and delivers a single haunting word. Hope. Audiences in the theater gasped.
What is it they've sent us?
Hope.
Carrie Fisher was back. Except Carrie Fisher never actually filmed that scene. A Norwegian actress named Ingvild Dale wore a recreated 1977 Leia costume covered in motion capture markers. The visual effects team at ILM digitally grafted a 19-year-old version of Fisher's face right onto her body. The audio of her saying "Hope" was lifted directly from a sound edit of the original 1977 Star Wars. ILM's John Knoll said Fisher saw the finished work and absolutely loved it. Director Gareth Edwards said when she watched it, she didn't even realize it was CGI. She thought it was old footage from 1977 she had simply forgotten about. Weeks after the movie released, Fisher passed away. That tiny one-word moment became one of the most haunting digital recreations in film history, and she never knew she was watching herself rebuilt from scratch. Number 5. This one is going to live rent-free in your brain forever. In the season 2 finale of the Disney Plus show The Mandalorian, a young Luke Skywalker walks into the dark and saves the day. Hood up, lightsaber drawn, the internet completely broke. Mark Hamill was back, except the body under that hood mostly wasn't his. The on-set physical performer was actor Max Lloyd-Jones. Mark Hamill himself performed in a separate high-resolution lighting rig, the crew nicknamed The Egg, where his face got captured for digital compositing. The lightsaber action belonged to stunt performer Mark Ruggeti, so the moment that genuinely shattered the internet was actually a hybrid built from 3 separate human beings stitched together in post. Now here is the unhinged twist. Lloyd Jones, the body, had previously played the chimpanzee Blue Eyes through motion capture in War for the Planet of the Apes. So that legendary Jedi Master, who reduced grown men to tears in 2020, used to be a chimp. Hollywood is wild. Number 4. This one took emotional courage on a level that's hard to put into words. In the season 5 finale of Game of Thrones, the queen character Cersei Lannister endures a brutal walk of public humiliation through the streets of King's Landing. Hundreds of citizens are screaming at her, hurling food. It's one of the most intense scenes in TV history. Lena Headey performed the deeply emotional facial work from the shoulders up, but the actual physical walk through the streets of Dubrovnik, Croatia, was endured by body double Rebecca Van Cleve for 3 full days. Hundreds of extras genuinely threw food and screamed at her, take after take. Headey was pregnant during the shoot. In post-production, her face got digitally grafted onto Van Cleve's body. Van Cleve later told Entertainment Weekly that it was honestly one of the most gratifying experiences she could have imagined. She also admitted to having a real good cry afterward. Headey publicly thanked her, saying if somebody's brave enough to do this, she absolutely applauds it. The most punishing scene in TV history wasn't really the lead actress. It was a stranger paid to endure it. Number 3. This one is Hollywood at its most bittersweet. During the 1999 production of Ridley Scott's Gladiator, the legendary British actor Oliver Reed, who played the slave trader Proximo, suffered a sudden tragic medical emergency in a pub in Malta. 2 key scenes for his character were still unshot. Insurance would have absolutely covered reshooting all his scenes with another actor. Ridley Scott chose to keep him, so the production used a body double, salvaged outtakes from earlier shoot days, recycled audio of one of his earlier lines, and rebuilt his unfinished scenes using early CGI face transplants. The double got filmed in shadow, with prison bars between him and the camera, the visual effects house. The mill grafted Reed's face on top, frame by frame. The reported cost, roughly $3.2 million, for about 2 minutes of finished film. Reed received a posthumous BAFTA nomination. The audience never knew he was already gone. They were watching a ghost win an award. Number 2. This one absolutely shattered me when I first learned about it. When Paul Walker, the lead of the Fast and Furious franchise, tragically passed away during production of Furious 7 in November 2013, the film was only halfway shot. The studio faced an impossible decision. They chose family. Paul's 2 real-life brothers, Caleb and Cody Walker, stepped onto that set together and physically performed Brian O'Connor's remaining scenes. Cody handled most of the eye work. Caleb provided the body and the physicality. Then Weta Digital, the same visual effects team behind The Lord of the Rings, used machine learning trained on every frame of Paul Walker ever filmed to digitally graft his face onto his brothers' bodies for roughly 260 newly shot moments. Sound editors stitched together dialogue from old recording sessions to give him a voice. The final beach goodbye, where Brian drives off into the sunset alongside Vin Diesel, was a digital ghost held together by the love of 2 brothers, refusing to let their sibling fade. The film made nearly $1.5 billion at the box office. But the real magic trick, the thing that made millions of people cry in theaters, was grief. Number 1, and here it is. The deception that started a public war. In 2011, Natalie Portman won the Academy Award for Best Actress for her transformative performance as a tortured ballerina in Black Swan. The marketing narrative the studio pushed for the entire awards campaign was simple. She trained for over a year and performed nearly all the dancing herself. About that, American ballet theater soloist Sarah Lane performed the hardest, most technically punishing ballet sequences in the entire movie. The fast spinning kicks, the complex point turns, the wide full body shots where every single muscle had to be in elite, lifelong trained condition. Portman's face got digitally grafted onto Lane's body in post-production, and Lane was credited only as a hand model, a stunt double, and lady in the lane. After the Oscar campaign actively minimized her work, Lane went public to Entertainment Weekly, ABC's 2020, and the Wall Street Journal. Of all the full-body dance shots in the movie, she said about 5% were actually Portman. The other 95% were her. She told the press it was demeaning to her entire profession. She asked the public, could you really become a concert pianist in 18 months just because you happen to be a movie star? Director Darren Aronofsky pushed back with different numbers. Portman declined to engage publicly. The Oscars stayed put on her shelf, and the ballerina who actually danced got nothing but a fight she never asked for. The most celebrated performance of physical commitment in modern Oscar history mostly wasn't even her on screen. The stars sell us their faces. The studios sell us the magic. And somewhere right in the middle, an entire invisible workforce of doubles, twins, brothers, sisters, dancers, and stunt performers is doing the actual labor we are emotionally responding to in those theater seats. The next time a scene breaks you on screen, just remember, somebody else might be the one who broke their body to make that moment land, and almost none of them ever get the credit they deserve. Which one shocked you the most? Drop the entry number in the comments. I read every single one, and I genuinely want to know. If this video opened your eyes the way it opened mine, hit subscribe, because we have so many more Hollywood secrets coming your way, and you absolutely do not want to miss a single one.